Hello, it is World Wide Web, Wednesday, June 15th, 2022. We are halfway through the month and will bring us halfway through the year. Hopefully you are more than halfway to your business goals for the year, and that's what we're talking about here, is making money or losing money in business. The saying, what do they say, get woke and go broke, or go woke and get broke, or whatever it is, still as true today as it's ever been, but now the worldwide leading data analytics firm Growth for Knowledge came out with a study, you might have seen this, comparing social justice-based advertising with non-social, regular ads. And overwhelmingly, the social, as anyone who's paying attention to anything would know, the social justice-based ads underperform, which means companies can enjoy running them. There's many reasons big businesses run advertising. You see it on the Super Bowl every year is a great example. They run them. Making money is often the lowest selling things. It's often the lowest thing on their minds when they run ads. I mean, they want to look good. Certainly with these social justice ads. It's likely they know. I mean, I learned this lesson decades ago. I was talking to a business owner earlier today about it, how my first multi-million-dollar business that I started while I was in my last year of law school, and back then everything was physically mailed out. There was no internet, and didn't even have the fax machine going yet for a few years where I would fax out reports. But I was mailing out weekly newsletters and such, and going through a lot of paper in the copiers. Had several high-speed copiers going through tons of paper, and I'd go into the local Staples store in the Boston area, where I believe the Staples chain first started. I remember when a business owner friend of mine was like, "Man, you got to go to this place. It's like a supermarket for office supplies." I mean, we used to have to go to an office supply store. I don't know if you remember this. Over 40 years ago, with tiny little stores with everything high priced. This was like a Costco or a Sam's Club or Staples, Office Max is today. It's a warehouse of office supplies, but back then it was like a kid in a candy store. I was like, grab a cart and just load it up with all these office supplies. We didn't have to call and get them delivered, pay overpriced, go to small stores where everything's out of stock. But anyway, I remember going over to the copy paper and getting a few boxes, a few reams of copy paper, and seeing, oh, look, recycled copy paper. I was like, that's a good idea. I don't really care. Paper is paper, whether I said recycled or not, so let's get the recycled. But then I looked at the price, and the recycled copy paper was, I don't know, like 30% more or something. And I was like, look, I'm running a business here. So social justice and being woke and all that, good for the environment and whatever. And back then, it was global cooling was the big alarm. We were entering another ice age. And but these climate alarmists have always been around. The climate's always been around. The climate's always changing. Climate alarmists always change their alarm that they're alarmed about, but they'll always be alarmed so they can make money and gain power. But anyway, I was like, no, I'll pass on the recycled paper. As much as I want to do good, I'm running a business here. And my thought was, look, when they can figure out how to make this recycled copy paper even somewhat close in price to regular copy paper, I'll bet it starts selling like crazy. Because then people would say, it would be like at the checkout when they say, do you want to round off for charity, or do you want to give a couple of bucks for charity, or whatever. It would be like an extra buck or two for the ream, and I'm doing good for the world and for whatever. And we say, yeah, good idea. But when it was like 30% more, I was like, no. But I remember that day thinking, when they can bring the price of this thing down, it'll fly off the shelves. Well, we're experiencing that right now with all this fossil fuel BS, at least here in the U.S., where we have incredibly anti-American. It's amazing to say that the leadership of the country hates the country and wants to hurt people for their own agenda, which is, of course, not American people's agenda to become, overwhelmed with inflation and skyrocketing prices, which you see most pronounced when you go or pass by gas stations, because they put the prices really big right out front. You see, this morning I filled up the tank. Didn't even fill it up. It stopped at $100. I saw that from somebody on Facebook, or somebody was telling me, they're like, yeah, the pump stops at 100. Now, of course, I could have, just put in the credit card again and just kept going. But it's like, minor little form of rationing there or whatever, but the pump automatically stops at 100. I'm guessing for diesel, for truck drivers, I mean, they, used to fill up for a few hundred. Now it's probably close to 1,000 to fill their tanks, but like 100 didn't even fill the tank on my normal car. It's not even a gas guzzling ridiculous thing. I was like, come on, this is just outrageous. So clearly, people in charge making all this happen under the guise of social justice, of like, oh, we've got to get rid of fossil fuels because they're just bad. And so with nothing to replace it, and without getting the price of electric cars anywhere down near non-electric cars, or the convenience, I mean, these batteries. Now, I have a battery in my car right now. It starts the car every day. And then I have an alternator, which means as I drive the car, it recharges the battery. What's with these, where's Elon Musk? I'm sure he's working on it. I'm sure he's got the 10 most brilliant minds in the world working on it nonstop. Like, how come batteries in electric cars aren't the same recharging type like they are in a regular car? Where, I remember the days of having a beater way back, car would barely start, you get a jump, and they tell you, well, to charge it up, just drive around for a while. That's how you charge it, not go plug it in somewhere, or pull off the road for 6 hours and charge it if you're on a cross-country trip in an electric car. I mean, good luck. So electric cars suck compared to fossil fuel gas running cars, and yet we have our American-hating government forcing high fuel prices and trying to force electric cars down everyone's throats. Like, people aren't ready for it. But when you bring electric cars down in price and convenience to the same way as non-electric cars, they'll fly off the shelf. Well, same with your advertising. If you're insisting on advertising for wokeness, kneeling for the national anthem in the NFL, or, whatever, all this woke nonsense crap going on, it's costing you money. Now, maybe you think that's okay because you still like to send the signal, or that's your target market. If your target market is communists or liberals or Democrats or socialists, Marxists, whatever they call themselves, like, if that's your target market, then yeah, you might want to overpay for underperforming ads, because even though people won't respond to them, and they won't even pay attention to them, but when they do, it costs you a little bit more, you don't make as much money, but you get that warm and fuzzy feeling. And a lot of companies, big companies, can afford to do that, and that's one of their goals. They got to look good to the board, they got to look good to the media, they got to get warm and fuzzy feelings, they got to win awards for their advertising. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons they advertise, but for small business owners, pretty please pay attention. For small business owners, we cannot afford to do any of that crap. That's why we're small business owners. When we get big, we can afford to throw money away just to get some woke feelings, right? But right now, you want every dollar to count, especially now that we are either in or about to officially be in a recession, tough economy, whatever you want to call it, down times, troubled times. Don't you watch every dollar? So this is not the time to go woke and get broke, unless that's your target. If your target market is specifically people that love woke stuff. But for normal, average people, like regular ads, way outperforming woke-minded, cause-minded ads. So we, small business owners, want every dollar we invest in advertising to bring a return as much as possible and as quick as possible. That's effective advertising and marketing for small business owners. And that's what I teach, and that's what I practice, and that's what I help people do. If you want help, my help with doing it, go to helpfromsteve.com. You get on my calendar. You can go to stevesipress.com and you can see a short video about the WOW strategy that I created that is the key to effective advertising and marketing for small business owners. And spoiler alert, you won't see anything in that short 10-minute video about how, gee, if you put out a woke message, that'll really get you the best return on your advertising. So, savvy people did not need to see this big study, but it did affirm that, like, no matter what you think from the left-wing Marxist media or the current government running the U.S., which is socialist, communist, Marxist, whatever you want to call it, like, that ain't the way to go. That is unpopular. That is not the most effective, the most productive. However, it is signaling, virtue signaling, and woke signaling to whoever they want to signal to. But if that's your gig as a small business owner, then you were probably the person that bought that recycled paper decades ago, and maybe still today when it's more expensive than regular paper because it makes you feel good. Then go ahead and do it. But if you're watching the bottom line, be warned. GFK, Growth for Knowledge, came out with a big study. They looked at all, they're a huge data analytics company, looked at a ton of data, and they showed that, like, the woke ads costing you money. That'll do it for World Wide Web Wednesday. Tune in every day. Most of the time I give business lessons on how to make more money and not to cost yourself more money. And that'll include tomorrow on Throwback Thursday. So thanks for being here today, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Over and out. Bye-bye.